Pauls?
Here.
Thompson?
Here.
Gurnett?
Here.
Mr. President.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of invocation by Councilmember Chris Jerem.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a thought today for invocation, there are a number of items on our agenda today for contracts to provide shelter for homeless people in Omaha. And the number, although in the hundreds of thousands, doesn't really scratch the surface of the need in the community. So let's try to keep in mind those who do not have a place to live, who need shelter, especially this time of year. And if there's some way that we can all help out in that effort, consider that.
City Clerk certified publication in the Daily Record on December 5th. Notice of Council and regular City Council meeting December 9, 2014. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted on white binder on the east wall of the legislative chambers.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Omaha City Council. This meeting is conducted in public and by law may only address the topics listed on the published agenda. The Council will hear testimony but will not engage in debate of issues with the public at this meeting. During testimony, it's not appropriate to applaud or convey disapproval. These actions only detract from the formal decorum of the meeting. At this time, please turn off or mute any electronic devices.
Liquor, items number 5 and 6 go together. 5 is Hyatt Place, Omaha, downtown, 540 South 12th Street. Class C liquor license, no application, no location. And 6 is Hyatt Place, Omaha, downtown, requesting permission to appoint a manager to the pending liquor license application.
Public hearings on number 5 and 6 are today. Proponents, please.
Hi, my name is Tim O'Neill. I'm with Harding & Schultz at 800 Lincoln Square, 121 South 13th Street. Here on behalf of the applicant, Aimbridge Concessions, DBA The Hyatt. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Tim. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearings closed. Roll call.
Gray? Yes. Jerem? Yes. Milton? Yes. Pauls? Yes. Thompson? Yes. Gurnett? Yes. Mr. President?
Yes.
5 and 6 are approved, 7-0. Item number 7, Retro Metro, 1516 Jones Street, Class C liquor license, new application, new location. You have petition opposing, communication in support, communications opposing.
Public hearing on number 7 is today. We'll start with proponents, and I know we have some, but I also know we have some opponents today. I just wanted to get a sense of how many folks are in the audience in opposition. Thank you. And how many folks intend to speak today? Great. Thank you. We'll start with proponents. Mr. Cascio.
Joe Cascio, 1516 Jones, representing the Metro. I'm here today to answer any questions you might have regarding the location. Also, I have a paper that I would like to give each one of you that will get the go-go issue out of hand so that you can understand it a little bit better. And that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. Hand that to her right there, if you would. Are there any other proponents today? Seeing none, we'll start with opponents, and then we'll probably come back to proponents to give you some time if there's anything you want to address. Okay, opponents, please.
Hi, my name is Billy Coburn. I am with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, one of the urban residential specialists there, and I've had the privilege over the last 6 to 7 years to sell, if you put it in flat land dynamics, about 2.5 acres of residential property in downtown. I've also been the listing agent on Kimball Lofts, which adjoins the property at 1516 Jones Street, and I'm also a homeowner in Kimball Lofts as well. And I come before you representing not only Kimball Lofts, but also our homeowners association and the people that live here behind me. I'm going to ask them to stand quickly, the residents that are associated with this property as well. So this morning I dropped off a handout for you that I'm going to reference if you have a copy of that with you. Our call to action for the City Council to act to protect our safety, our homes, as well as the progress of our city. When I first moved here in 2001, I lived at Jones and 15th Street at Joslyn Lofts, and I remember viewing Kimball Lofts, which would become Kimball Lofts, which would become a great residential property in my dream that someday. But I found it oddly interesting what would happen every weekend on Jones Street up and down the traffic. And when I asked somebody who had lived here for quite some time, they told me it was called the Milk Run in Omaha, and that's what it was known as. And I said, okay, well, that's an odd name for this street. But it was a reference to what was known as a place of drug solicitation, prostitution, sexual favors, where people would come and drive up and down the street, up to the end of the correctional facility, turn the loop, and go back down the street. And this went on for years that I lived at Joslyn Lofts. Club Joy was the club that was associated at this location at that time. From 1985 to 2005, at this address, there have been at least 4 known nightclubs of some genre or some sort that we have researched. The Metro, Ziegfeld's, which was, as research has shown, a lap dance, a go-go bar, a couch club as well, 10 Lies, and then ultimately Club Joy, which was known as one of Omaha's great alternative clubs. Unfortunately, it also had a reputation of being a club full of hard drugs and large crowds. Ironically, my hairdresser, which doesn't take long, as you can tell, was a bartender at that location for quite some time. And when I brought this idea up to him that they might reopen, he said, you know, I worked there for a year. It was known if you wanted to do cocaine, that's the club that you went to downtown, it would be lined up on the bar. He said, I quit the job after a year because of the influence that had upon my own personal life. It was a club known for hard drugs and large crowds, and historically it's been known as a place of undesirable business, which obviously brings concerns for us as the neighbors of a 29-unit loft complex that has just been completed in the last couple of years to share adjoining walls with such a property. On our location, we also have a Good Neighbor dog park across the street associated with John Leba, the local international sculptor, who has graciously supplied that place for us to take our dogs and allowed us to fence that in, which connects to a surface parking lot as well. So we have tenants going in and out of our property all times of the day and the night, either taking their dogs, accessing their cars, visitors, family, friends, or children. So our personal safety is first and foremost as a resident there. Additional concerns that we have that have been brought up over the last couple of weeks, I think most notably for me is the fact that within the last year, the property located on the corner that also adjoins 1516 Jones Street was shut down by the Federal Bureau of Investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. Great concern that happened with just in the last year, and the owner of that property has also supplied a letter in support of the new Club Metro that owns that building, has supplied you with a letter of support to open the club right next door to it, which I find a little bit alarming as well. Anytime a bar owner uses Craigslist to solicit a bar that promotes something such as go-go dancers and the solicitation of alcohol is bound to bring about trouble. So we feel as residents of our property that there has been a little bit of deception. Whether the intent is there or not, there's several things that I would like to point out. The first of all is the Craigslist ad. Not only were residents in our property communicated to 2 people in our property out of the 29 units, we're told that Joe was opening a casual comedy club. I know that John Leba was told the same thing. Greg up the street at Howling Hounds was told the same thing. We see a Craigslist ad come out that says, giant party, go-go dancers, fast-paced, high-volume entertainment. Nothing about a comedy club, which causes great concern, again, as tenants that live next door to that. So we began a social media campaign to solicit our community to come to a meeting. And we posted a link to this ad so that our neighbors could see what this proposal was. And within 2 to 3 hours, that ad was taken down and the link was removed. When Mike McKnight interviewed Joe, this is the first time myself had heard this club referenced as a 70s and 80s disco with an Austin Powers reference to this said Go-Go Girl application. And I will note that on the Craigslist ad that was submitted as well, there were 2 days that Go-Go Girls could come and apply, and 2 time slots that they could come and supply to. So I find it difficult to imagine that that was just a euphemism or some sort of throwback to the Austin Power days when they actually solicited the public to come and apply for a job such as that. Margie Magnuson says that too many liquor outlets as well as bad behaving liquor businesses can cause havoc in a neighborhood, leading to disinvestment of other businesses and high turnover residency rates. As residents, we have great concern regarding the protection of our home investments. Since Club Joy closed in 2005, that infamous milk run has gratefully been replaced with a large impact of residential units. $35 million has been invested on the corners of 15th and Joan and 15th and Jackson Streets. Kimball Lofts has $20 million investment included in 29 lofts and pent lofts from 2007 and recently sold out 2 years ago. 1501 Jackson is 75 upscale apartments that Mike Moylan with Shamrock Development has just completed on the northeast corner of our block as well. Kingston Tower has also done some renovations, and Goodfellas, as we just discussed earlier, has been closed down and now is on the market, and I have actually worked with a couple architects on renderings to do a new development proposal for that corner as well. So what's different now? This was a question that was posed by one of the council members directly to one of our residents. It's always been a club. What's different now? Why should it change? What should happen? You know, always is one of those words that can have a good impact or a negative impact if you're not willing to change. The map that I have located for you on page 6, it just shows a brief picture of what has happened since Club Joy has closed down in 2005 and what's taken place. All of the orange locations on your map that was given out this morning show residential properties that were located there before Club Joy closed in 2005. After that, all the dark orange, the red locators show the residential impact after 2005 to the current date. In all, more than 250 residential units have now been included in our community surrounding a 4-block area of Kimball Lofts, tripling since 2005 when Club Joy closed the number of residential units downtown. Some of those units contain not just one person, but 2 to 3 people as well. In addition, the Douglas County Correctional Facility being completed in 2004 certainly helped close down the milk run at the end of that street. 16th Street master improvements continue to take place, as you're well aware, and Silhouettes, another local bar, was just closed recently down there. Arnie was gracious enough to share a statistic with me Saturday that said on any given weekend, 15 out of 17 control cars, police control cars, units downtown, would be on call for that bar alone. 15 out of 17. Something we certainly don't want to repeat with the opening of another bar in our location. The Diamond Bar, seedy past in history, I love hearing the stories of what took place there, is now Howling Hounds Coffee. It's a great center of community in our neighborhood. Gallery 1516, Patrick Drickey, he's investing over $1 million to house a new gallery for the Museum of Nebraska Art on the corner of 16th and Leavenworth, just a block away. Jaws and Lofts, right across the street where I started my pilgrimage in Omaha, has undergone significant renovations as well. L15, another loft community project a block away, has undergone significant renovations. L14 was just constructed directly to the east of them. O'Keefe Elevators. Tiger Lilies, former strip club, is now Soggy Paws, where I take my dog to get him washed. Greyhound has left Omaha. The bus station will be relocated. All of that has proven to take transients off of that Jones Street quarter, off of that Jackson Street quarter, making it a substantial residential community. And we want the council to recognize that it has had a significant change. It might have always been a club at 1516, but there has been a drastic change in the neighborhood in the last 7 to 9 years. The council in 2012 adopted Omaha's Good Neighbor Policy. And I applaud you for doing that. Many cities across the nation have done that, and many cities across the nation have impacted ordinances that would make clubs of this nature with go-go dancers, et cetera, be located a half-mile outside of the radius of the center core of the city. You've done your research as a city council on the impact of alcohol and its communities. And I want to read just a couple excerpts from Omaha's Good Neighbor Policy. Businesses selling alcohol tend to create an environment that contributes to nuisances which jeopardize the quality of life throughout the city. Criminal offenses and nuisance conduct tends to increase near premises, increase stress on law officers, negative impact on the health, safety, and welfare of residents, including fear of person safety, deterioration of neighborhoods, devaluation of property, impairment of the city's property tax base, and destruction of the community's values and quality of life. So we're asking you to please be proactive in protecting the progress of our city. You've done that by enacting the Good Neighbor Policy already. I would ask you to be proactive and not reactive in the situation of the application of the liquor license for 1516 Jones Street. two questions that I would present to you today. Where is the public interest? I know that Mr. Cascio has submitted a petition as well of those in support. When I took a brief glance through that petition before I arrived here today, I noticed that out of all of those that have applied on that, how many of those addresses are from individuals that live downtown? I counted 5. We've petitioned you with at least 36 residents from our own building to not allow this liquor license to be granted on our behalf. The second question that I would ask is, how does permitting this type of business rank into the development of Omaha's master plan? Where does it fall in line with being a community committed to promoting and maintaining a high quality of life for all of its people? As Councilman McGray stated, communities are deteriorating when there's an overabundance of liquor license in a community, and I think that has been established. Our makeup has changed drastically since 2005 when Club Joy closed. Let's not go back in time. Let's not go retro. Let's not move backwards to the days of the Milk Run Street. We ask that the City Council to act in the very best interest of our safety, of our homes, and for the progress of our city as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Next opponent, please. And if opponents that are intending to speak might come down the front row so we're everybody lined up and ready to go here. Yeah, and we'd ask that, we appreciate that testimony, just ask that you avoid repetition and have your comments address new points or new concerns if you have them.
Hi, I'm Kristen Brown, 1502 Jones Street, Unit 202. I agree and support all of Billy Coburn's concerns. And in addition, my husband, Scott Brown, and myself loved living in this community so much that not only did we relocate in the building, but we also chose to begin our family at Kimball Lofts. Being downtown but off the beaten path in our quiet residential neighborhood is where my 4-month-old son, Brock, gets to grow up. For this reason, we feel very strongly against this establishment being connected to our home and residing in our family-friendly neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. Next opponent, please.
Good afternoon, Councilman. My name's Colin Rickliffs. I'm a senior buyer for Gordman's, and I am an owner in the Kimball Lofts. I'm going to make this very brief and quick. There are a couple of us that have a unique situation on top of the very valid reasons that Mr. Coburn has provided to you. If you look at the front of your brochures that Billy handed out, you'll see there are units that run directly flush with the proposed bar that they're trying to open. There is absolutely no way to keep music from coming through the walls or a drunk crowd coming through the walls. If you grant a liquor license to this location, it will make my house unlivable. It will make it financially worthless. I would just ask you to put yourself in our shoes. After a long day like today, you want to go home, have dinner with your family, watch a movie, go to bed. I won't be able to do that if you grant this license. And I'm asking you today to do the right thing and vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next opponent, please.
Hello, Councilman. My name is Kevin Cunningham. I live in 1502 Jones Street, Unit 208, and I, like Colin Ricketts, have a unit that adjuts right next to the proposed bar. And while construction was going on in the last few weeks, I have sat in my condo during the day, in the evening, heard hammers pounding away, people talking. That's how thin the wall is, and you can hear the noise through. So I will be brief and just reiterate what Colin said. It's unlivable if you would to blast music or hear people talking and yelling and screaming. Thank you.
Thank you. Next opponent.
My name is Pat Drickey. I own the block from 16th to 15th Street on Leavenworth Street, and bought it in 1999 from the Leo Kraft family. We've been in an ongoing progress of rehabilitating that block, and 3 years ago I went in collaboration with Museum of Nebraska out in Kearney to establish an outlet in Omaha for traveling exhibitions, and we've created quite a following with that, so I'm concerned about the entire area. I just don't feel like we need, and I quote this from the Craigslist ad, a fast-paced, high-volume establishment offering go-go dancers. I'm concerned about that. Beyond that, I'm concerned about how many establishments where you can go get a drink do we need in downtown Omaha? The transformation that I've witnessed in the last 15 years since I bought my property has been unbelievable to me. I would not have believed it. Living with the Kimball Lofts for the first 5 or 6 years as a vacant, rundown warehouse. Jocelyn Lofts in the same situation. And I think it's time for the city to really pay attention to that residential aspect and the quality of life down there. It's important to us. Please, please, deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next opponent.
Arnold Breslow, 1240 South 10th Street, president of the Old Market South Neighborhood Association. Most of you have seen me here. I've never been here before a bar opened, I must admit. But and I certainly, as I've stated many times, do not have a problem with drinking establishments. Drinking establishments with food, we probably can't get enough of them. But when it comes to places that pour straight alcohol and that's it, I mean, we've closed the Silhouette. It was supposed to be a nightclub with food and the whole works. It became a bar. We had to close it. Maria Sangria's was supposed to be a restaurant with food, and it predominantly became a nightclub. We don't need to come back and try to deal with this after the fact, if it in fact is going to be that kind of facility. We've got that kind of facility within walking distance of less than a half a block right now, and probably as many liquor establishments as any place in the city within 8 blocks. Why do we need another one? Let's put something in there that helps the neighborhood and is good for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents today?
Hi, my name is Misty Cristo, and I am a renter at Union Plaza, which is on the same block as the proposed nightclub. I would just like to show solidarity with the property owners at Kimball Lofts and also share my concerns with security issues. I would not have moved down to the property on 16th and Jackson if it had been in the state that it was several years ago. I'm very pleased with the progress that's been made in terms of the residential area, the businesses that have come into the area, and so I would also like to voice my opposition to the liquor license. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents today? Seeing none, we'll give Mr. Cascio a few minutes to address anything you'd like to address, and I think we have some lights and some questions.
Well, that's quite a bit, but I think we can start with the go-go, if we can.
And Joe, just your name and address for the record.
Oh,
Yep.
Joe Cascio, 1516 Jones.
Thank you.
The go-go ad was actually a mistake. It should never have happened. My son was in California for the last 12 years, and he does comedy. He's a comedy agent. He travels all over the world and doesn't decide to come home. So we decided to open up the club, myself, but he's going to work there, and we decided to do comedy on Thursday nights. Well, being that he's so well-versed in it, that it would be just a perfect thing for him. And while he was in California for the last 12 years, his mentality in California with go-go and strippers is two different things. When you go to a bar in California and you say go-go, it's a cocktail waitress that serves drinks or food and does dancing and singing. For example, like the Roadhouse out there in West Omaha. They have a little birthday party, they do their little shuffle, they do a little dance, and that's what they do. That's what we plan to do also, and play 70s and 80s music. We plan on just opening Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and have some special events. All the letters that I got in the mail or through the city here, all the complaints and everything, never had my name on them once. If there was a bar owner in there before and they had some problems, I never received a copy of that, so I really didn't know the problem even existed at that time. If you look at the complaints, whether they had noise in there or loud music, my name wasn't on it at all. And since I was, the last license that I was granted in there was in 2010 when we opened that up. When we were open there and we let the license run out because of health reasons, we never had one complaint from the next door people. Right next door to us is their parking garage on the main floor. It's their parking garage. And I'm outside for the last few years. I'm the one that does the cleaning from 15th to 16th Street. I'm always out there cleaning. And I was talking to a lot of the neighbors that would walk in and out, especially one group. Her name was Susie and Rick Mahoney. And I caught them as they were going in the parking garage, and they asked me when I was going to open that up. And I said, well, we're thinking about opening it up real soon. And she said, can I have a look at the place, at the space? And I said, sure. So she parked her car in the garage, and 15, 20 minutes later, she came down with her husband, Rick. And I explained everything what I wanted to do, and her and her husband both agreed that it was a great space, and they never had any problems with it. But right after that, I received the petition, and they had signed it. So they had changed their mind for some reason. We plan on running a great business there. It's just a demand for the area. There's really nothing over there. I have several properties also in that area with a big, big investment. But one thing that you have to remember, all the bad things that they said in the petitions can happen any place without a liquor license. You don't need a liquor license to have any problems. You can have problems anywhere. But one of the big important factors, I think they'd be beneficial to have a liquor license in there. And for the simple reason is that, for example, you do not grant that liquor license today, it doesn't mean that the music can't still exist. The music can still exist. You can do other things and have music in there and different things going on without a liquor license. But I think it'd be beneficial because we're only going to open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and we'll have special events. I've always done fundraisers in the past for nonprofit groups, the Cystic Fibrosis, the Cancer Society, and things like that. And many people know me. I've never had go-go dancers in any of my bars. I've never had problems. I've always run a good, clean place. Back in the old days when the health inspector would come in and give you a rating, they'd always give us 99. And I always would say, well, why don't you give me 100? And they say, well, nobody gets 100. So we just have a nice place. We want to run a good, clean establishment. But if there was a gas station, for example, right next to the Kimball Lofts, you would assume, well, there's going to be another gas station going there. Well, there happens to be a bar. And it happens to be a good bar. It's not just any old bar. It happens to be a great bar, great location. And I strive in cleanliness. I strive for a great place. We don't want any problems. We want just a nice, nice place to go. And I think these people are just a little bit over the top. They're too much of a complainer. I think that that's what that area is. That's what we do down there. And if you have any problems with, noise down in the old market, for example, you got people living upstairs, bars downstairs, and you got this guy playing the trumpet on the corner here for 6 hours, playing the same song in the same place. But those people don't complain because that's what you chose. That's what you chose. That's the lifestyle you want. We're good neighbors. We were good neighbors the last time the city gave us that license, and we'll be good neighbors again. We don't want any problems. If they have any problems with us, they say the music's too loud, we'll try to adjust it. But I really don't see that problem because the last time that we had that license in there, we never had one problem with them, not one complaint, not one thing go wrong there. And I hope that the council today will approve this license because it's needed in that area. There's really nothing to do, and there's nothing for an older crowd to go to. That music that we play, 70s, 80s, is all for the older crowd. We've never had any bad people at our bars already, wherever we're at, because the bars that have that problem, they don't have the right music. I grew up at the bar and the restaurant business. I've been in all my life. I know what it takes to run these places. It costs a lot of money. We're going to have 15 to 20 employees. We're going to pay a lot of sales tax. And we're not going to have any problems. I can guarantee you we're not going to have any problems because of the music dictates the people. Now, on the security issue, every place has to have security. The banks of today are getting robbed during the daytime. You got to have somebody that's there to set the tone for your place. It's very, very important. You got to get off on the right track, and that's what we tend to do. Get off on the right track so we can have a good crowd, good people, and give them good service and a nice place to go for the weekend. Any other questions?
I think what we'll do is close public hearing, and then we'll have lights on, and I'm sure we'll have some questions. So thanks for those remarks. Mr. Jerem.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I wouldn't describe what I heard from the opponents as over-the-top complainers. That's not a thought that came to my mind. What came to my mind were neighbors who are very concerned about their neighborhood transitioning to something that would impact their lives in a negative way and their investments in a negative way. And if you place yourself in their shoes, you might, I think, not have made that statement. So that's regrettable that that's kind of how you viewed it, but it is what it is. One of the things that I didn't hear was yet another establishment we had downtown, not too far from here, that was also tried to be high volume, fast paced, was Chasers. We used to spend late nights down there with the police at 19th and Leavenworth. So, you know, I haven't heard one person come to this council yet who was an applicant who ever thought that their establishment could be a problem or could turn into something that caused a real headache for, you know, a burden on our resources of the police, a burden on the neighbors, the residents of the area. So it's not a surprise to me that you wouldn't think that that could be the case either, but there's a very legitimate concern for people who have moved into a neighborhood that has transitioned by not a few residences, but by the hundreds. And they make a pretty compelling argument in my mind that there is a change in the character of the neighborhood, that there is a place in the central business district for entertainment. They believe there's a place for high-paced, high-volume establishments, and we could recite a list of those. They just don't see that this is the place for that thing, that this is their residential neighborhood that they don't want disturbed. So that's where their concerns are coming from, not that it's anything personal against you. I would say, though, that the timing of this application to me is so soon after the closure of the Goodfellas and what happened there, coupled with this ad that called for go-go dancers, alarmed me and raised suspicions with me that perhaps somebody might have seen a chance in the market where one place closed to maybe open up another one. So if it raised my suspicions, I could see why it would raise theirs as to whether that could happen. So, and I'm not asking a question at this time, Joe,
Okay.
but so if you could just sit down. I'm sure some other people might have questions for you. I'm just commenting on, hopefully you can understand where they're coming from, because it's a suspicion or concern that I had too when I heard about that. And when I read your business plan, there's nothing in there that talked about high volume, fast paced, nothing about dancers. You know, in a statement to the Liquor Commission, file stamped November 12, plan to open, doing stand-up comedy, playing old retro music, going after a 35-plus crowd, plus special event rentals. You know, I don't think plus 35, even though I was there not too many years ago, was high-paced, high volume. Were you? I mean, you kind of slow down when you get into over 35 a little bit, I think. That was my experience. But so there's some internal inconsistencies between what you're describing in your business plan that you were going to do, and then this ad that surfaces on the internet, which was pulled down. It wasn't edited. It wasn't corrected. It was pulled down. So then that raises further suspicions that there's something nefarious going on potentially in their minds and in my mind. So there's not a place, it's interesting on this application, there's not a place I can go, it seems like lately, and not hear about this. I was at a Creighton basketball game, and people recognized me on the concourse and said, hey, we've got to stop that 1516 Jones. It's really worrisome. The Convention and Visitors Bureau, they were hearing about concerns about it. We heard about that this morning at our committee meeting. I haven't had this many concerns from this different array of interest groups or stakeholders in the downtown area as I've had with this one. You know, I've been here now 5.5 years. I would note another thing that causes concern is that you've even applied for a Class C off-sale license, which would seem inconsistent with a comedy club. I think the neighbors raised a pretty interesting and compelling argument on density, and whether there's a need. I would note that there's no certificate of occupancy on the building, which would, until you would even get one, you're not even eligible for a liquor license. And I learned that from planning department today. I've told it expired because you had been closed for more than 6 months. So that is a disqualifying element until such time as it's remedied. And then one I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention too is this group that gets together once a month at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday, either the first or second Friday of the month, to discuss the millions of dollars the city and private stakeholders and property owners are reinvesting to 16th Street. What we're trying to do in that corridor. And hopefully, while we have up to phase 3 mapped out, Jones and Jackson would be phase 4. Hopefully we'll get there. But to me, what we're trying to do is consistent with what these people and their representatives have communicated to us, is what that neighborhood has become. So for those reasons, I just can't support this application, Joe, and it's not the personal against you and your son. It's just that they made a compelling argument in a number of factors with a very painful recent experience in that neighborhood, not only at what had been operating at your location, but the human trafficking that had happened just west of that. And, you know, that not too often do this many people cry out, waving the flag for help. So that's why I'm with them today. And I would ask my council colleagues to vote to deny. So no matter what happens here today, though, you've indicated, I didn't see the Channel 6 report, but I read the transcript of it, that you intend to go forward. And there's been a little bit of an error in communication to the residents with regard to what happens next should this get recommended for denial or approval. You can no longer send in your own letter to protest. You have to use Form 146 on the Liquor Control Commission website. And we have a copy of that here for you if you want to see what it looks like. Mr. Mumgard?
Yes.
Would you mind answering me, is the basis for recommending denial in terms of recognition by the Liquor Control Commission in terms of character of the neighborhood changing since that location was licensed, density in terms of the existing outlets and available liquor licenses in downtown, as well as the discrepancies in information described in the business plan versus what was in the ad? Are they the basis recognized by the Commission for recommending or upholding a recommended denial?
In some form, Tom Mumgard, Deputy City Attorney, in some form, yes, they are all appropriate or proper basis for recommending a denial of a liquor license. I would point out that the statute allows you to consider whether the location is likely to have a negative impact on either police or the neighborhood, and in doing that you can consider whether that negative impact will come from either the business plans, what kind of business it's going to operate, or in some instances from negative reputation that the location has achieved, that if it has over time with prior businesses achieved a reputation that will then transfer to the new business, and the new business, because of the reputation, will continue to attract customers who have a negative impact, you can then conclude that the business itself will have a negative impact and deny a license for that reason.
Thank you. So I made a motion to recommend denial. I hope we get a second.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start, Joe, with first of all by saying, number one, I can't support a C. I can't. Even if there were no neighbors here, even if there was no protest, even if everything was lined up the way that it should be lined up, I can't support a C for a couple of reasons. I think, like the neighbors, that the neighborhood has changed, and I'm not sure that what you want to put there fits anymore. In addition to that, I'm concerned about the rental piece of that, because we as a council have experienced too much when an establishment is rented out. It is usually rented out by these local day-night promoters and others, and those are concerns that I would have. I wouldn't be able to support a C under any circumstances, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I also have the concerns of the neighbors that perhaps maybe this area has changed, and it's more of a residential neighborhood now than it used to be, and perhaps maybe what you're talking about there may not fit anymore. And with the concerns that other people have about the kinds of trafficking that goes on, you know, I don't know that, I doubt very seriously that you would condone that and would do everything to fight it. I have no doubt about that. I'm not sure that you would be successful without police help, which is another problem that I have, is that we continue to have a police department that we have a police department, quite frankly, that is stretched pretty much to the limit. And it's stretched pretty much to the limit because of activities in and around downtown, northeast and southeast Omaha to a certain extent. My biggest concern, however, though, has to do with a problem that Councilmember Melton and I have been working with a number of people on over the last couple of months or so. We have a significantly growing homeless population, and they're spending a lot of time in the downtown, northeast Omaha area, and which goes to my reason for not being supportive of a Class C, because a lot of our homeless people use it as a poor man's refrigerator, to go pick up a bottle of beer, or a can of beer, whatever the case may be, drink it, come back and do something like that later. So that would be the reason why, under no circumstances, would I be able to support a C license. But for me, the concern is, and the reason why I seconded the motion is because I think the neighbors have a point in that the neighborhood has somewhat changed. And there are more efforts to change along the way to add more residential units. And if we do something that sends the wrong message or some sort of a chilling effect to that development, I think that would be of concern to all of us. So those are kind of the reasons, why I'm not being supportive today. It has nothing to do with you or how I think you would operate. I think you'd be a really good operator. But the fact of the matter is, I think the neighborhood has changed. I have concerns about the growing number of homeless in the community. And I wouldn't be supportive of a C under any circumstances if there were no one here today. So I just wanted you to know my reasons for it. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Gurnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Clerk, we have, to your knowledge, you've been around a couple of days doing this job.
3.
Any police actions, reports, or tavern reports against this applicant that you're aware of?
Buster Brown, City Clerk. I do not have any that I'm aware of. There were some that were submitted from a previous operator at this location, but it wasn't Cascio.
Thank you. Mr. Mumgard, I believe I asked you early on in research that can an applicant be held accountable for the sins of another? You recall your response?
Not specifically. I can answer that question today that in general, no, an applicant is not responsible for the sins of another. That if a business has been run improperly and a new applicant comes in and shows that they will have the ability to control the customers and run it properly that the prior owner did not have, yes, they're not responsible for those sins of another. I think in some instances we've looked at that, and I've in fact told the Liquor Control Commission that if a place has become such a problem that people are going to keep coming back there to raise a problem, the only kind of operator that we would allow in there is somebody who has experience, is tough, and can chase those customers away. An inexperienced operator would be a bad operator for one of those locations. So in that respect, I'd say yes, although they're not responsible for the sins of another, they pay for the consequences of the sins of another.
Thank you, sir. Joe, come back up. Just repeat your name for the record.
Joe Cascio, 1516 Jones.
Yeah. Could you explain your reasoning, your application for a C license, please?
Yes, sir. Many, many years ago, when I first went into the bar business, it was around 77, 78, and I had a couple bars, and I paid $25,000 for my liquor license. That's what they cost back in the old days. They don't cost anything now, and that's one of the reasons why, plus the fact that if we have a wedding party, and we might get a wedding party, and that we don't know, we could do those on off days, and they buy the liquor, they have to be able to take that with them if there's anything left. That was the reason why that I wanted a Class C license. I just thought it would have been mandatory, and it would have been great for our customer base.
Other than, say, weddings, as you had mentioned, you sort of grouped everything in under special events. What won't you take there?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What won't you take there as a request for a special event to rent?
What won't I take? I'm very, very apt. Years and years ago, people came to me with promoters and things like that, like Mr. Gray has mentioned. I've been through that. I know that. I know all the tricks of the game. I know how to get by that. They can't fool me. I've been there many, many times. I run a clean ship, an honest ship, and we give people good service. And we've never had any problems. If you look at the record, my name is not on nothing. It's on nothing for something going wrong. Whether it's a complaint about noise, whether it's a complaint about a disturbance, there's nothing there.
What type of security would you be willing to have, or you're planning on having?
From the start, we're going to have 4 security men in there plus 2 off-duty policemen, if possible, if they'll do it. With all the heat that we're getting, we might not be able to get 2 of them, but if we can, we're going to hire 2 off-duty policemen in uniform, if it's possible, to work, to show people from the start that we're not going to take any problems. We don't want the wrong crowd. Have a strict dress code where they have to get in and nice and clean. We're even talking about a lot of our help, even the men wearing leisure suits, back, so it reflects back to the 70s. And I know I'm a good operator. There's not many good operators in town. A lot of people get in the bar businesses for the wrong reasons. I've already been through that. I know what it takes to run a good bar, a good club.
I shouldn't have surveyed my closet. I might have been able to help. Thank you, Joe. A couple of things I've noticed. I just wanted to sort of editorialize here. I got to tell you, the inference to the Craigslist, I looked at that, and the implying that what the opposition said about Craigslist, there's nearly 100 different occupations on that list for job openings, and to imply that the Craigslist shows some sort of negativity towards you because of one classification in there. That disturbs me a little bit. What else disturbs me is the sort of the wrong way history was displayed by the opposition here. I go back in my other life, and I understand the change. I understand the residential coming in, and about how change takes place no matter where it is in the city. And in this particular case, had light industry, heavy industry. I used to take my uniform dry cleaning to Kimball Laundry, that place. So I go back a number of years, but the way that the history of that area was displayed by the opposition is somewhat disturbing. It's also disturbing on the applicant's side, because I've had conversations with the applicant, and what was said one time and what was said here today, there seems to be these scales that are not balancing out for me. So I'm having a considerable amount of trouble trying to decide which way to go on this. When people change history just to go towards what's happening today, that bothers me. And when they distort history, that bothers me. When an applicant distorts from what they originally said in their application to what they're actually going to do in real time, that bothers me. I also heard today that there were some folks that were here in solidarity for those that are living immediately to the east of that, and that's fine. I understand that. I truly do. I think we have an applicant coming up here shortly just to the southwest that has been a good neighbor, but I didn't hear any complaints about it. It's an after-hours application that's coming in just to the southwest. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just one block from that place is a very large population called the Douglas County Corrections Department. And you have comings and goings there. I didn't hear anything about that. So giving a complete picture or not giving a complete picture bothers me, and distorting history, that bothers me, both on the proponent side and on the opposition side. I'll yield the floor at this time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I have someone from Planning Department answer this? Does this meet the master plan?
James Thiel, Planning Director. James Thiel, Planning Director. I believe the zoning on this site is CBD, and this would be an eligible use within the CBD. And so from a zoning standpoint, it would be acceptable. I think that the City Council can take a look at the master plan in its totality to make a consideration about whether this is appropriate in the current circumstances in the neighborhood, however.
But you just told me, though, that this is acceptable in the neighborhood.
I'm telling you the zoning would permit it. I think that when you look at the master plan and look at the various elements in the master plan and what they're trying to accomplish in terms of neighborhoods, I think that that is something that you can take a look at when you make your evaluation.
Okay. Because you know what, sometimes I do have issues with the master plan and how we utilize that to move things forward or backwards. Joe, can I have you come? I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
If I live there, and I heard this from several people, they live right next door, noise. If I live next door with the noise, what's your answer to that? You may have already given it, but just...
Well, I did give my answer, sir. The last time the liquor license was approved by the City Council, 2000 and, when was it, 10, they were here complaining the same time. They were complaining about that license, but that license was granted by the City Council at that time, and I never had one complaint after that. Not one.
And you had the same type of...
Same thing, the same music and same everything. We played older music, same thing. Never had a complaint. And if you look on any of the paperwork that they submitted, there's not one complaint about the noise factor or my name on it, or even the police. When the police came to somebody that was in there before, my name wasn't on any of that stuff.
Okay. Another thing that did catch my attention, you had mentioned with the Millard Roadhouse?
No, what I mentioned was that out in West Omaha, that they have those waitresses and the waiters that dance in the aisles when there's a birthday party or something, and that's what these girls would do for us. Our waitresses would do that maybe at somebody's birthday party. They do electric slide to it or a little song or something. They're dancers, they're singers, they're entertainers.
Well, I mean, I go to the Roadhouse on a regular basis, and I don't think I've seen...
The one on 156th Street out in West Omaha, Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, Texas Roadhouse, okay.
They do that all the time. They put them on a little horse. They get the horse run. They do a dance and everything like that. And that's what it is. And the pictures that I submitted to you are exactly the costume that our cocktail waitresses would wear. It's all 70s retro. And that's what we were doing. And in the past, I've never had a go-go bar. It was a mistake that my son made coming from California. I gave him the permission to put that in. He messed it up. And the kid's been having a rough time with it since then, because now that's made it rougher on this application. But I can assure you that we're not going to have any go-go dancers per se on tables, on stages, any strippers. I've never done that, and I never will do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Ms. Milton.
Thank you. I just kind of want to make it clear. I think I'm inclined to support Councilman Jerem's position on this. Number one, it's in his district. Number two, I don't think I've ever seen this many people who would live so close and be, I mean, this bar would be right there. But I also want to make it clear, because I think some of the arguments were we shouldn't have a liquor license in this location. And so I want to make it clear so that there's no surprise. I might support a liquor license in this location if it's the right place. I mean, there's a number of places, wine bars or things like that, that I don't believe would have a negative impact on you, and actually the people in the lofts might enjoy it. And I would think that the people in the Kimball lofts would maybe entertain maybe a different venue. But I think what was posted, and I understand, I really don't, I hope you're not too upset with your son. I think what your son posted, though, was we want this to be, Mr. Castro, that we want this to be a high-paced environment with, a lot of clientele, and I just don't think that that's the right fit for that area. That if you're going to have maybe a little bar and grill or something where people can come in and out, but this kind of Thursday, Friday, Saturday party-type atmosphere is what it sounds like, even when you're talking about renting it out for potentially weddings or other things. I think that that's going to create some noise and a lot of people, and not the kind of bar that the surrounding residents want to see right there. So I guess I would hope that maybe you would, I think it sounds like you're a good bar owner, that you know what you're doing, and so this isn't necessarily a vote against you, but maybe the type of bar that you're looking to open. And I understand, I actually go to Texas Roadhouse quite often, and the advertisement for a go-go dancer versus just having some waitresses who come out and sing and do a little Texas dance when it's your 8-year-old's birthday, I think is different than what you're probably doing right now. We take families. It's a restaurant off 156th and Dodge, and I don't think that's what you're actually opening here. You're opening a bar where you're serving alcohol. Am I misunderstanding? Is this a restaurant?
No, it's not no restaurant at all. It's strictly a bar. But the Texas Roadhouse is a bar too, and they do that same thing. They do that same thing at all. But my son is used to the California mentality. He was out there for 12 years, and that's what it is out there. It might not be a fast-paced thing. The bar business has changed dramatically, but that's what he did. I didn't proofread that. It's my fault. If I would have proofread that, there wouldn't have been nothing in there about go-go. But my past history should tell you that I've never done that. And if I have to sign an affidavit in that regard, I would do that. I would do that. Now, if you would approve a liquor license for somebody else in that location, that's exactly opposite of what they want. They do not want a liquor license in there. But my thought is before that I could probably do everything I want to do right now, and if we took the liquor license out of the equation.
And sir, let me I just wanted to make statements. I allowed you to come up and respond, but I
Okay.
just want to finish. And actually, I don't think that's true. And I don't think it's true that you being the bar owner is necessarily the problem either. Perhaps you could go back with your son and maybe come up with a different type of bar that maybe you would want to open, because it sounds like you have been a good owner in the past, but this isn't the type of bar that these residents want to see in their neighborhood. And so maybe you could go back and think about doing a different kind of venue for your bar. And I think that the residents might, and I at this point in time, I really don't want to have an argument, so I'm just going to make my comments.
No.
I think at this point in time, the residents would entertain that. I think, number one, they didn't know what was exactly what's going in, because it doesn't sound like there's been much contact other than with one or two neighbors. So perhaps you could maybe go back to the drawing board, meet with the neighbors in the lots, and maybe the two of you could come up with something that would work and that would be a better fit for the neighborhood. So thank you at that time. At this time, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you. I would just say that I agree with Councilman Grenant's remarks. This is a hard one. I think that the Cascio family is well respected and obviously experienced operators throughout the town, and that part doesn't concern me. And I think it's a little bit unfair to paint the broad brush of what might have happened there before happening there again in the future. But neighbors obviously have a lot of concerns and a lot of opposition here today, and they make some good points about how the area has changed too. And a reminder that no matter what happens here today, this is a recommendation, whether it's up or down. The ultimate decider is the Nebraska Liquor Commission. Just want to make sure everyone here understands that today too. One more light, Mr. Jerem.
Yes, just two things I forgot to mention. One is, Joe, you've mentioned your son's name quite a bit, just so the record's complete. What is his name?
My son's name is Anthony.
Is Anthony Cascio? Is he
Yes.
with you here today?
Yes, he's here today.
So we know for the record when this...
Yeah, Anthony Cascio. He just moved back from California. He was doing a comedy circuit in California for about 12 years and done extensive tours in Europe, and he just decided to come back and come back to the family.
Thank you. You can sit down. Bridget, I saw you back there. Would you mind come down? There was one question that Council Member Pauls had about the master plan. Although this is zoned CBD, I'd like to just ask you a little bit to talk about the master plan's goals of adding how many thousand more residences downtown and what time period, and so that's in the record.
Bridget Hadley, City Planning. I'm probably not prepared to completely answer that question, but the 2030 downtown master plan, I believe, is what you're referring to, and it does have goals to add at least 5,000 residential units into the downtown area over or rather between 2009, when that plan was approved, up to 2030.
And roughly, where are we right about now? It's over 1,000, I know.
Oh, yeah. I think, I'm trying to recall if I'm just going to say it's probably closer to 1,800 to 2,000 units that have been added in the downtown area just through TIF projects.
Thank you.
Roughly.
Yeah, I just wanted that to be on the record. I had some other things I was going to say, but I'm not feeling all that well today, and we have the rest of the agenda to go through, and I want to try to stick it out, because if I had to leave, we know what happened last week, so I'm just going to shut it down right now on this issue and ask for your support of my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second, 2 to 9. Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
No.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
it is denied on a 6-1 vote. Item number 8, Agave Azteca, 681, 685 North 132nd Street, Class I liquor license, new application, new location. We have one communications opposed.
Public hearing number 8 is today. Are there any proponents? Mr. Kelly.
Mr. President, members of the council, Mike Kelly, 7134 Pacific. Appearing here where the applicants are here. If you have any questions for them, this is a Mexican restaurant. Nothing more, nothing less. They've been remodeling for about three or four months now. They had a misstep when they first filed. They reformed the application some, and they're going forward, and we're here for any questions you might have.
Thank you.
And by the way, the complaint, I just noticed whoever came in was kind of a general complaint. They were not open. It had nothing to do with them, whatever they were talking about. So it wasn't really directed at us, but the area. They thought there was too much noise in the area, whatever that means.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Well, and I think there's a problem right now with noise coming from the back of Hy-Vee.
Okay.
After Hy-Vee expanded a couple years ago, they expanded the back, they widened it, and there's a lot of noise that then is going into the neighborhood, almost making it unlivable for those neighbors in the Abbey area. Your location is all the way on the other end of the Hy-Vee Strip, and I think it's just a restaurant. So
Thank you, Councilor.
I just thought I would
appreciate it, because I couldn't imagine
clarify
why there
that.
would be any protest on this whatsoever. Again, it was directed.
And they might not have known exactly where. I know where the Agave. I'm looking forward to it opening. I love Mexican, and I can actually walk. It's that close. I can walk down to the restaurant. So wherever the owners are, welcome.
Right.
Welcome to District 7. We're looking forward to coming in
Appreciate your support.
and trying your food. So
Thank you.
with that, I would make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearings closed. Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Jerem passed second time for potential conflict of interest. It's adopted 6-0-1 passing. Item number 9, Sam and Louise, 541 North 155th Plaza, Class I liquor license application, old location.
Public hearing number 9 is today. Proponents, please.
Hi, my name is AJ Powell from OMA LLC, doing business at Sam and Louise on 541 North 155th Plaza. Applied for Class I license. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearings closed.
Motion approved.
Second. Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Adopted 7-0. Item number 10, Maharaja Indian Cuisine, 617 North 114th Street, Suite A, a Class I liquor license, new application, new location.
Public hearing number 10 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Councilman. My name is Anil Bala. I'm representing Indian Maharaja Cuisine at 617 North 114th Street, Suite A, and we are requesting for a liquor license at that location.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearing closed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Adopted.
Thank you.
Thanks.
7-0. Item number 11, Market Basket, 91113 South 87th Avenue. Request permission for change of location in the present Class C liquor license to a location at 2501 South 90th Street. You have Communications Supply Department saying they need to get their permits, and we have one communications in support.
Public hearing on number 11 is today. Proponents, please.
My name is John Likas from Likas and Matukowitz. I'm the attorney for the Market Basket, Inc., and it just so happens that I have a non-paying client because my wife is the owner. They've been in Countryside Village for about 28 years, and they decided to go to a little bit upscale location about 15 blocks to the south in the new Loveland Center. And it's the location clear on the north side. They have the top, the north 2.5 bays, which their architect, Barbara Hecker, is submitting the building permit before the end of the week. And the work is being done on all of the drawings and the mechanical portions of this. We've had a Class C liquor license for many years because they do some off-premises catering and a real lot of on-premises purchases for catering where people are requesting that they have the ability to buy other than beer and wine. So respectfully request that you approve this license subject to the issuance of our permits from the city. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Likis. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents?
Second.
Second.
Public hearing is closed. There's a motion and a second. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Mr. Likis, this is kind of a little bit of a famous place up in the west side neck of the woods. It's the place where all the politicians gather to
Yes.
eat and talk.
That is correct.
And so I guess we'll just follow you down the street. And is this the Schlossberg
Yes, it is.
development?
Yes.
So you're going to be on the northern end of it?
Yes, we are. We'll be in about the exact footprint where the Mexican restaurant
Yes.
was for I don't know how many years. And prior to that, I think when I was still in college when the Old English Inn was in that location, and then Senor Matias, and then I think we're in the exact same footprint.
Okay. All right. Well, it's already been moved and seconded, so I'll just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have to add that he's leaving your district and coming to my district, so that's a little bit of political. Yeah, it is, it is.
Center Street?
Yeah, no, that's mine, believe it or not. It is.
No, it isn't.
Thank you.
You are on the other side.
They're fighting over you. That's a good thing.
Getting into politics.
It's still in my
All right. There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Milton?
Yes.
Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurnett?
Are we voting on the license for where this is placed in the district?
Or whether he should be paid by his wife or not.
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
It's adopted 7-0, contingent on proper permits. Item number 12, Super Saver number 20 at 5710 South 144th Street. Request permission to appoint Matthew Turner manager.
Public hearing on number 12 is today. Proponents, please.
My name is Matt Turner. I'm the Assistant Store Director at the Super Saver in Millard. We're changing managers, and I'm going to be on the liquor license. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do want to thank, because Super Saver does an awful lot of things with the Miller Business Association. I really appreciate that. What surprises me, you look too young for this to happen. You work for Hinky Dinky?
Yeah, I started in Crete, Nebraska, my hometown. But I'm 28 years old now, so I'm probably a little bit younger than I look, but or I look younger than I am, but
That's the same with Mr. Paul.
Well, the only thing about it is when I saw Hinky Dinky, man, I haven't seen Hinky Dinky, but that is in Crete, or it was.
Yeah, it's not anymore. Okay. Yeah, they were an old Nash Finch company,
Sure.
Hinky Dinky, Sun Mart, all that good stuff. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Milton? Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurnett?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Approved, 7-0. Item number 13, Sam's Club, 8146 at 13130 L Street. Request permission to appoint Chuck Morrow, manager.
Public hearing number 13 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Same as the gentleman before. If management switch over, would like to be asked to put my name on the liquor license.
Your name and address?
Is Chuck Morrow at 13130 L Street, Sam's Club.
Great. Thank you. Any other proponents, please? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
I move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes. Thanks.
Approved 7-0. Item number 14, Saints Pub Roanoke, 4915 North 120th Street, Suite 1. Request permission to appoint Sheila Canterbury. Sheila Canterbury, manager. Sorry.
Thank you. Public hearing number 14 is today. Proponents, please.
Hi, I'm Tony Tadero. I'm with Baird Home across the street, 1700 Farnham Street, representing Riley Drive Entertainment 17. This is Sheila Canterbury, manager of the location, Scott Anderson, one of the owners of the location, and we're here in support to answer any questions you've got.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Second.
Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Approved 7-0. Item number 15, Chartwell's 7,000 Mercy Road. Request permission to appoint Daniel Eusebio, manager.
Public hearing number 15 is today. Proponents, please. Mr. O'Neill.
Tim O'Neill, 800 Lincoln Square, 121 South 13th Street. This is a replacement manager during the pendency of the application. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Roll call.
Gray. Jerem. Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Approved 7-0. After hours dance permit, item number 16, resolution to application Omaha Mining Company for an issuance of an after hours dance permit at 1715 Leavenworth Street is hereby approved.
Public hearing on number 16 is today. Proponents, please.
Joseph Allen, Allen Brothers, doing business as Omaha Mining Company, 1715 Leavenworth. Any questions?
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Second.
Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Adopted 7-0. Consent agenda. Any member of City Council may cause an item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed consent agenda shall be taken up by City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by City Council rules of order.
Public hearings on agenda items number 17 through 28 were held on November 25th. Roll call.
Gray. Yes. Jerem. Yes. Milton. Yes. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 17 through 28 have been passed 7-0. We will remove item number 46 from the consent agenda resolutions.
The public hearings on agenda items number 29 through 45 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address, who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. Seeing none, public hearings are closed. Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton. Yes. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
29 through 45 are adopted 7-0. Item 46, resolution to contract offer of the Civilian Management Professional Technical Employees Council for the contract year 2013 through 2017. Attached is Exhibit A, which includes the calendar year at question before the Commission of Industrial Relations for wages, employee benefits, and overall compensation practices for the members of the SEMTEC is hereby accepted.
Public hearing on number 46 is today. Proponents, please. Any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Motion to
not adopt.
Not adopt.
Motion to not adopt.
Motion to not adopt. Motion to deny. Why don't I do it like that?
Otherwise, no hands. And is your light on, Mr. Craig?
Yeah, I just wanted to, just very short comment, Mr. President, if you would. Thank you. This is just a procedural move, to preserve our ability to, if necessary, go to the Court of Industrial Relations. Just wanted to make sure that the public knew, those who were watching on television or whatever, that this is a procedural move and nothing that has anything to do with negotiation at this point, other than to preserve our status.
Thank you. No further lights. There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
The resolution is not adopted 7-0. Item number 47, a resolution of appointment for Daniel Teltecki as the Union Shop Journeyman Electrician, member of the Electrical Examiners Board. Is hereby approved. We have a request from the Mayor's Office to allow withdrawal.
Motion to allow withdrawal. Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray. Jerem. Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Withdrawn 7-0. Item number 48, resolution that the attached flats on Howard Tax Increment Financing Real Project Plan, which is generally bounded by Dewey Avenue and Landon Court between 22nd and 24th, which contemplates the complete rehabilitation of the structural sound buildings within the Howard Street Historic Apartment District into 143 market rate apartments, hereby approved.
Public hearing on number 48 is today. Proponents, please. Ms. Hadley.
Good afternoon. Bridget Hadley, City Planning. As mentioned, this TIF redevelopment project plan represents the historic Howard Street Apartment District, which is outlined in the blue. The parcels that are part of this TIF project also are the ones outlined in blue, starting at Dewey Court, all the way to Landon Court, basically, 22nd to 24th Street, and then Howard Street being the primary street where most of the redevelopment will occur. This particular project will involve rehabilitating the various historic properties, particularly the ones that are structurally sound. I think there may be just about one that may not be able to be saved. And it will result in 153 market rate apartments that will be renovated, rehabilitated, and 147 parking spaces. As I kind of just flip through some of the buildings, many of you may have seen these buildings as you've been through the area, but these are the historic properties that are a part of this TIF project, from the Forest, the Longfellow, the Bosworth. As you've driven down the street, you've seen these. The Bartlett, 2235 Howard, the Mayfair, 2316 Howard, and then the Dewey Street row houses. And then there are the parking lots that you see. And those I will show on this site plan. The properties that are a part of this TIF project and the rehabilitation are all those shaded properties. So these here, these, including any of the streetscaping, so the green trees, so all that's part of the streetscaping that will be a part of the project. This property, including these. And what's intended to happen is, over the winter, they'll be weatherized and prepared, and there'll be some rehabilitation that will begin next month, all through next year, that most of the rehabilitation of these buildings will be complete by next year, and then they will begin the rehabilitation of these two properties. Many of you may be aware that this particular area has been a very dangerous area over the decades. It has been dangerous. There's been prostitution issues, drug dealing, all kinds of violence. And these properties have been on our code enforcement radar for at least the early 2000s. A couple of buildings came onto our radar around 2001, and then between 2005 and 2013, other buildings were added. So that area had been on the planning department's list to continue to monitor, and then about, well, it's been vacant for about 4 years, so if I do my math right, that's 2010. But around that time, they were able to get those properties vacated, working with the city and our code inspectors to get them vacated, and that drastically decreased the danger and the feeling of danger in that particular area. And so the developers have been able to come in and take a look at the property and be able to look at a plan to completely rehabilitate those properties. It's going to involve about $2.2 million in TIF. It's a little over $20 million investment in this area. Speaking to a comment that I made earlier, it is still part of that larger downtown core. It takes property, it preserves historic properties. That's the first key thing. The second thing, of course, is adding residential properties back into the downtown area. Downtown is a major employment center, so bringing housing opportunities closest perhaps to other employment areas in the downtown area. There's about a $30,000 worth of TIF that we were going to take from the project to put into the Downtown Public Improvement Fund. Because of all the public improvements that are going to happen on this street, particularly Howard Street, and then streetscaping along Dewey Avenue, we're going to allow the project to keep about $15,000, and the remainder of the $15,000 will go into our Downtown Public Improvement Fund. I'll just flip through real quick. Here's some of the renderings of what the final project would look like, and this is, if I'm correct, this is looking west from 22nd Street. And I believe we're still on that same street looking west. Some of the streetscaping you'll see that would be put in, the lighting, stamped concrete on the sidewalks, more stamped concrete. Providing a very active, livable place, which right now has been boarded up and vacant, and most of the properties on that street, and very undesirable to drive down from for the most part. However, I know there are a lot of city employees that do park on Howard Street, so we're brave. Just another one of the renderings. So with that, I would ask for your approval, and the representative of the developer is here if you have any specific questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today?
Good afternoon. Darren Smith, Arch Icon Development, 505 Walker, Woodbine, Iowa, here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Mr. Greif.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be very brief, but it's not in my district. There are some parcels in my district. If you're interested, we can take a ride at some point.
We are.
But I did want to take the opportunity to thank you for this particular project, because as a former journalist and having to cover that area on a number of occasions where things have been very difficult in that area, it was, in a lot of instances, it was the hot spot for all kinds of illegal activities that went on at the time. And so taking this on is a tremendous opportunity for this city, but it's also a tremendous thank you for cleaning up an area that had had some significant issues for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm sure, or quite certain, that your neighbor, the Urban Indian Health Coalition and Residential Treatment Center, is hugging you because of the issues that they've had to deal with having a residential treatment center with a supportive housing, the few units that they had, and then having the drug and alcohol issues abound in the neighborhood where they're trying to get people the help that they needed. So I don't know what your experience has been with them.
We've met several times with Donna Polk-Prim and Damien, and are aware of their plans for expansion as well. And they've been very good neighbors, very supportive of everything that we've been planning to do. It was actually some feedback that we got from them regarding the last building that we purchased. The reason that was why we purchased it, because of the activity that was happening in that triplex next to their building. So they've been very supportive in every way, and we're looking forward to their expansion as well, and just the growth of the entire area between Leavenworth and Harney and Farnham, the new hotel, Federal Reserve area. We just see it as having a ton of potential.
The one question I had for Bridget, is this the last stop in the TIF process, or will this be coming back anymore? Is there anything else they need to get started from the city?
Bridget Hadley, City Planning. No, this isn't the last stop. This is just to approve the redevelopment project plan. They are, sorry, I was thinking of another project, apologize. So this is not the last stop. The next stop will be, we're going to work on a redevelopment agreement, and then that will come back to you for a vote.
So before the Arch Icon can get going on this project, they need the redevelopment agreement approved.
Correct. We have said, because we know with certain projects there are financial constraints that may require them to move forward. And of course, with the buildings being in their condition, they may need to do certain things to those buildings. But with your approval today, they should have pretty good reason and security to move forward, but they're always at their own risk until the agreement is approved.
Okay. You want to come back, Taryn? Your confidence level on this is all, does it still remain? This is a certainty?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we've begun demo, and the triplex there at the corner of 24th and Dewey Avenue, that will come down before the end of the year because it needs to. So, yeah, we are very confident.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Gurnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I could give you story after story after story on why it got to the point that Ms. Hadley described to us earlier. But I won't, I'll spare you all those stories. So I just want to add my thanks to your continued investment in our community. And I'm looking forward to bigger and better things. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Roll call.
Gray.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Adopted 7-0. Item number 49, resolution attached 5018 Underwood Tax Financing Redevelopment Project Plan located at 5018 Underwood Avenue is hereby approved. Do you have a communication supporting?
Public hearing on number 49 is today. Proponents, Ms. Hadley.
Bridget Hadley, City Planning. Before you is this TIF redevelopment project plan in the Dundee area. This particular property is highlighted in the blue, and right along Underwood Avenue between 51st and 50th Street. You also may know it by this picture. It's the old grandpa's, I believe it actually says Food Mart and Deli, or Grandpa's C-Store. But this particular project has experienced some deterioration, displays, some blighted conditions such as the deterioration, and it's been vacant for a while. And the developers have seized the opportunity to take this site and redevelop it and create a mixed-use property that would be a 3-story building with commercial, retail rather, on the bottom floor, and office spaces, so commercial on the second floor, and then residential 6 apartment units on the 3rd floor with some parking in the back. And I've got a few site plans just to run through to show you, to give you a better perspective. The public improvements that this project primarily would involve, this is Underwood Avenue, so there will be some about 10 stalls that would be added along the front of the building for additional parking. And then this is basically the footprint, rather, of the building. It's about, I think, between 15 and 16,000 total square feet, if I'm correct. About 5,000 per floor of square feet. This is the main floor, basically programmed for a restaurant, and then about 15 stalls of parking in the back, accessible from the alley. There will be public improvements to the alley from the eastern edge of the property going west to 51st Street. The 2nd floor, office space, and then the 3rd floor, apartments, market rate, 6 of them, 3 studios, and then 2 bedrooms and 1 one-bedroom. So not a lot of units added to the space, or to the area. This happens to be just one of the views, elevations of the rendering from looking from the southeast, or from the Dale. And then I'm going to show you this one as well. So this is the south elevation. The architects are currently working with our urban design manager to finish out some of the detailing of the building, but mostly looking at the 2nd floor, the upper floors where the apartment units would be. looking at the materials that will finish out the building. The red brick will stay, and what you'll notice, there were some concerns about, 3 stories right up on Underwood Avenue at that spot. But what they've done is it's basically 2 stories, so it'll fit in well with what you see here, and then it steps back to the 3rd story for the apartment unit. So that much massing isn't right up on Underwood Avenue. This particular project will involve the creation of about up to 75 new jobs in the area. About 50 of those jobs would be in the retail area, so full and part-time, and then about 25 new jobs that will be professional type jobs that will come with the medical office that I believe is a pediatrics medical office. This will involve $650,000 in TIF and a little over $4 million in total investment. So with that, I would ask for your approval, and if you have any specific questions, we do have the representative of the developer here, development team.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Any opponents? Public hearing's closed. I'll second that, but first I want to have a couple of remarks. I think this is a significant project, certainly for the Dundee Business District, and something we anticipated when we did the business renovation in that area with the first Neighborhood Conservation Enhancement District supported by the Planning Department and put in place for this very reason. We thought this part of the business district probably would redevelop at some point. And so I agree, it is consistent with that zoning overlay. In fact, it has to be. But that is what caused the 2-story view rather than the 3-story or something different. And the transparency you see there, and I think they've done a nice job with the building materials there to make it consistent with the character. I know Dr. Davies here, I appreciate his work also with the merchants and the neighborhood association to really get their input too and their views, and I know they all are supportive of seeing this happen too. I think there's definitely some nostalgia about Grandpa's C-Mart because they were a nice benefit to the district too, but I think everyone realizes it's time at this juncture to do something a little different, and certainly a restaurant and retail and office space with some market rate apartments on top is a desirable thing, and a $4 million investment, which is important and not insignificant either. I know Dr. Davey lives in the neighborhood too, so that he'll be a great addition with his office there. We talked about parking a little bit. That's always a big concern in the district there, and we increased it about 30% as a result of that renovation. My understanding of this is that it's almost a wash in terms of what will go and be replaced. There's about 12 spots that are essentially private right now. There'll be 15 added in back, I think you mentioned, for the tenants, so essentially private too. I don't think there's 10 in front, though. Isn't there more like 3 or 4 new ones in front? I wish there were 10, but I think there's maybe 3 or 4 new.
Okay.
4.
Okay, so maybe I have an outdated site plan, but there will be a few parking spaces, stalls in the front of the building along Underwood Avenue.
Yeah, I think it's just because there's currently 3 or 4 there. This adds 3 or 4 right next to it, so that's a positive too, even though it's not quite 10, unfortunately. But that's good too. In the alleyway, so what happens in the alley is an asphalt overlay from the back of the building to 51st Street.
And I think I'll defer to the developer to speak specifically to the alleyway, how that will be reconstructed.
Hi, good afternoon. Eric Wiesler, 1941 South 42nd Street. Yeah, essentially the alley from the east portion of the lot to 51st Street will be improved. We're looking at either a concrete option or at the very least an overlay option for that to gain access to the new parking lot in the rear of the development.
Okay, so it's possible it could be concrete if you mill it down?
Potentially, depending on, yeah, we're looking at those options.
I think that'd be welcomed by the other tenants too, however you do it.
Certainly.
The alleyway needs some work as well.
It needs some help right now.
Yeah. Great, thanks.
You bet.
Just say, so I think this is all a great plan. Should we see additional development in that immediate area, and I think we could, we may need to think about other parking solutions and how that might fit in with what you're doing here, but this is certainly a welcome addition that I support. No further lights. There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Yes. Milton? Yes. Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Burnett?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Adopted 7-0. Item number 50, resolution of the appointment by the City Council of Dana, Washington to be a member of the MECA Board of Directors is hereby approved.
Public hearing on number 50 is today. Any proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Milton.
I would like to just to renew what I had stated last week. I still find this appointment to be extremely early, and although I've asked, I've never gotten a reason for why we would be making this appointment this early. I have met with Dana Washington. Again, I've known her for many, many years, and she's an excellent candidate. But I think the precedents that we're setting right now by making this appointment, especially when you have a board member that would have liked to have been considered for reappointment, and I think now what we're doing is we're replacing him over 5 months before his position's even up. And I understand Mr. Lund will stay on the board. He's been an excellent member of the MECA board. I think that he has taken some positions that were very helpful to the city. I think that we have seen MECA grow and is profitable, and Mr. Lund has been a big part of that. So with this today, I would like to thank him for his service to the city and to MECA. But I think what we're doing, all of us sitting here today can thank him, but when you're replacing him or announcing his replacement more than 5 months before his term is up, I really think that you're making a statement, and I think that that's unfortunate. I don't think there's any reason why we need to rush Ms. Washington's appointment, because her record absolutely stands on its own. She's an excellent candidate, and I think what I would have liked to see is at least input from council members. I think we should have at least discussed when we were going to make these considerations, and then we should make these appointments in a timely manner. So announcing and doing this a couple months before the appointment is up, I think should be done. But making it this soon, I mean, essentially we could be telling Ms. Washington, well, when you take over as a board member in May, we'll just expect that if we don't want to reappoint you, we'll be doing it by that time, maybe 7 or 8 months in advance. And I don't think that's the precedence we want to keep, or we want to start right now. Because to my knowledge, we've never made an appointment this early previously, unless one of the board members was stepping down or there was some other reason why we would make it. Not this early, not in the year previous. I mean, it's December of 2014. We did this without giving the public really any notice that we were going to be making the appointment this early. And again, I think it puts both Ms. Washington and Mr. Lund in a somewhat awkward position. When we have elections, it's 2 months later that the elected officials take office, from the President of the United States down to the mayor, down to us. So I don't think that there's any need to make an appointment this early. And I would have liked to have more time to have other people who are interested considered. I believe that Ms. Washington's resume and her background would speak for itself. But I think having some of those discussions and allowing other people to put their name in would then have allowed for the timing to be right and for Ms. Washington to potentially get a 7-0 vote. She would at least get my vote. I support having Ms. Washington on the board. What I don't support is this process, and I don't support this timing. And I've told Ms. Washington that. I think she will make an excellent member, but I think Mr. Lund was an excellent member, and by doing this, this council can thank him, but I think it's kind of a slap in his face at the same time. And I think that's very unfortunate, and I think it's an unfortunate statement that we're going to make to other appointees of boards in the city, that we very well may be making the announcement of their replacement 5 to 6 months in advance before they're off the board. So with that, I would really like to lay this over, at least until January of 2015 or later. But the earliest appointment I could find was Mr. Thiessen in January before the position was up. So I would at least like to continue this to January. I would like, since we have We have 3 Tuesday. I would like a layover of at least 6 weeks.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last time I seconded the motion for a layover, but this time I'm not going to do that because I know that Councilman Jerem didn't have a chance to weigh in, and I do know that the votes are there for this to go through, and so I don't want to muddy up the process by doing that. Besides, it'll just be a substitute motion to go ahead with it anyway. But I'd like to go on record as to why I'm going to vote no. I'm okay with replacing a particular member. There's nothing written in stone that just because you get on there once that you have an automatic renewal. There could be something to say for having turnover. What's bothering me is that, and I want to also say that I want to make sure that the public and the media does not paint my vote as a partisan vote. I'm a proponent of diversity. I have voted for previous minority candidates to this board. And actually this time I'm ready to vote for a qualified candidate now. And that's the problem, is that I had a candidate who was not a Republican, he was a Democrat, and he wanted his name thrown in, and he was not given the chance to do so. And I had a hard time explaining that to the potential candidate. So because of the process and because I've been around here for a long time, and in the past we've always had at least 3 candidates to pull from, because of a process issue, I'd have to go ahead and also vote no. And but I do believe that the candidate that we're looking at now, Ms. Washington, will make a good choice. It's just that I know that there were others that could have been considered too, who are also minority and who were not Republican. So I'm still scratching my head a little bit in terms of how this process went. But I'm not here to throw grenades, and I'm not here to sling mud. I have a lot of faith in my colleagues up here, so and not necessarily trying to pick a fight, but just explaining why I have to vote no on this, because there are a couple of people asking me questions that I can't give an answer for. So that's my rationale. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Jerem.
I'm doing my best to bite my tongue in light of comments slap in the face, precedent, things like those statements being made when, in my research, the first time that a council member's asked for a layover because of an inability to make the meeting, in this case, because of attending the funeral of a friend who was burying his son, that to me is somewhat discourteous, to say the least, and disappointed that that didn't happen when we last met as the council. But having said that, I'd also like to point out that the MECA board member whose position is being voted on today was himself actively soliciting his reappointment. So if he didn't think it was too early to get reappointed, I wonder why now he's questioning someone else's nomination and appointment. That seems odd to me. He met with me, asked me for his reappointment before the council president had approached me with this particular person, and I directed him to the council president as a person who had to decide on what process would be implemented, because if you remember the last time we had a nomination for a MECA board appointment, I thought the process was very cumbersome to have people of such upstanding qualities and attributes in the community to have to come down here and essentially what I thought was grovel for an appointment. I thought it was in poor taste. It was not respectful of their contributions to the community, to their qualifications, and so when the council president had mentioned Dana Washington's name to me as someone eminently qualified with this process, it's something I said, well, I would support that because it was, in many respects, 180 degrees of the opposite of what the last time had been. And then the last point I'd like to make is, it seems interesting that when the mayor's office makes an appointment, all you hear is there's been an appointment. We don't know what the process is, how that process is handled. It's just announced, and voila, we have a new MECA board member. But there seems to be a lot different approach in terms of how our appointments are handled. For better, for worse, that it is what it is. But I think that it is a cumbersome process, and if you're in the council president's position, no good deed goes unpunished sometimes, because I think you heard the colleagues on the council complaining like I was the last time we did this, begging you to come up with a way to improve the process, and I think you thought you were doing that, and obviously you ruffled feathers over here this time. But I don't feel there was anything partisan in it. I don't know what Miss Washington's party affiliation is. I don't care. I know her, I'm familiar with her, and I think she'll do a great job. And so, notwithstanding the lack of a layover as requested, I'm going to put that aside for now and chalk it up to a 2 weeks ago's position as a protest vote as to whatever happened on not getting that laid over. And if that was a vote against the process, then I'd say let's get over that, as I'm willing to get over what happened on my layover request, and at least have a vote for Dana. She deserves it, and should get off to a nice, resounding embrace as she begins her service on the MECA board in May. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Melton.
Well, and I just wanted to respond. Mr. Durham, I had a motion to lay over as well last week. So my motion to lay over was not accepted either. And I think I agree with you. When I asked for a layover to just do this in January and hopefully have a 7-0 vote, I was told we have the votes, so we're not even going to give you any consideration. So I agree with you, and I think that in the future we should hear on the council when we're asking for something like a layover, we should give the other council member that due consideration. There was a layover made for 3 weeks for the prior electrical board member that was made on the mayor's appointment, which was by council, and we laid that over, not at the request of the mayor, but I was told, no, we're not going to lay yours over. And by the way, I was told that prior to your unfortunate event that caused you to be away, and I was already told no as well. And I do think that maybe all 7 of us should think about that in the future when we're asking for something like a layover, especially when we have good cause and good reason. And it may be that it's to consider some other candidates, but also when you have good reason and you think maybe we could have a 7-0 vote and maybe we could work together a little bit instead of just make it where we already have our 4 votes, we can win with or without you. And I don't think that's how the city council should run. I find this vote extremely troublesome for the reason that I know Dana Washington probably better than all of you. This isn't about Republican or Democrat, and in fact, Dana Washington, I believe, votes for candidates based upon their qualities and not on the party. I don't think Miss Washington follows straight down party lines at all. I have a great deal of respect for her, and I think putting me in the position where I'm trying to say, let's have a better process and let's make this more transparent. This isn't political. This is about the process. And I think that when we have these mecca appointments, we should discuss, like Councilman Thompson said, all 7 of us should have the opportunity to pass around a couple names and have some of those discussions. I firmly believe that Ms. Washington would have come up most likely on top. Obviously, she has your support, so there'd be no reason why we couldn't have at least maintained a process, had some transparency, and then not set a precedent for making these appointments that early. I understand that it sounds to me like it was more of a political thing. Well, Mr. Lund may have been able to convince one of you 4 to come along with him. That's not a good reason. And I think the 7 of us have more respect for each other and more respect for the process than to think that. I think if we would have had a number of names and had a number of consideration, we could have had these discussions and then potentially had a 7-0 vote. My vote today is not against Ms. Washington, and I think she understands that. I couldn't have more respect for her. But it is about the process. And I agree. I was offended as you were, where all I was asking for was a continuance, and it looks like Mr. Moore is more likely to get a continuance and is given more due respect for a layover than I am. And so hopefully maybe we can move past that in the future and all of us can give each other a little more consideration when we are asking for one. I would agree with you completely.
Thank you, Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sitting here pondering, and I'm still pondering. I think we know which direction it's going to go, and I will support it. I think we sort of aired how we would like to have things go in the future. You know, maybe it's because we haven't really defined how it should go in the future. Maybe because if you read the charter, basically the president has those duties that we sort of assign them, because it's my understanding the president leads the meetings and is in place of the mayor when he or she is gone. The other attributes of the role of the president, I think, is sort of defined by all of us. And if we allow these things to happen, we have. And I think if we haven't established a direct protocol, I think we have to live with what's going on. I do not know the individual. I'm assuming by reading her resume, and by your comments, that she is a very strong candidate. I know John Lund. I see him as a strong person. The amount of time after a while, you have to say, okay, we have to move on. So I'm just saying, is if we have issues, let's do those for the future. Let's move on now so we can get this issue over with. But again, I just think we have given the president certain guidelines by not giving guidelines. Because if I'm reading the charter wrong, the president basically does what he or she does because there aren't any strict rules to follow. So we have to live with what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grape.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm going to be brief here, try to be brief here. It seems like you're going to be darned if you did and darned if you didn't, because I know you were trying to avoid what we're having today. I don't know that there's going to be a process as it relates to the council. And I want to reiterate what Councilmember Jerem said. You know, if we're going to question appointments and timeliness and other stuff like that, let's do it on both sides of the ledger. Let's do it on the 3rd floor while we do it down here. I know what your intent was. I support your intent, what you intended to do. You intended to take some of the politics out of this, and by attempting to do what you did, we ended up doing the same thing anyway. This could have been done differently if there had been more cooperation, and that's all I'll say about it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Mr. Jerem, so that you understand me just a little bit better. The last time we had our public forum here, where they came down and talked to us, one of the 4 was picked, leaving 3. And this time around now, 2 of those 3 were contacted before to see if they were interested, and one of them was curiously not contacted. That put me in a very tricky situation when that happened. So a lot of my vote today is not, I feel like I've been boxed in. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Yes. Milton?
No.
Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson?
No.
Gurnett?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
It's adopted on a 5-2 vote. Ordinance on second reading, item 51, ordinance rescinding ordinance number 39456 for the approving the tax center financing redevelopment project for the TD Ameritrade Service Company. There will be an amendment of the whole.
Public hearing on number 51 is today. Proponents, please. Ms. Hadley.
Good afternoon, Bridget Hadley, City Planning. Again, before you is an amendment of the whole for essentially the cancellation of the TD Ameritrade TIF redevelopment agreement.
Yes.
The only change to this agreement is in the ordinance, and I believe you have that in front of you. Section 1, the word at the end of that paragraph, rescinded, is deleted and replaced by the word terminated. We got a call from the legal representative of TD Ameritrade to our legal department saying that they felt that using the word rescission, especially on a project that involved tax revenues that had been received and a note that had been paid off, if you use the word rescission, gives the implication that the project never happened. And we're not trying to imply that the project never happened. What we're saying is the project is completed and it's terminated, and so we agreed with the language to use terminated instead. So the project is still canceled, terminated, but that was the reason for the change in the language and the reason for the amendment.
That's the only change in the amendment?
That is the only change in this entire request and proposal.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, just a reminder publicly that TD Ameritrade took a 15-year-old note and paid it off in less than 3 years. It's actually only 2 years. And so, wow, I mean, if we could get more of those, we'd be doing backflips. But kudos to TD Ameritrade for getting that done. And so I'm all happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 52, ordinance approving agreement with the Board of Regents of the University of Nebraska to authorize funding for a proactive analysis of the local crime problems and to actively assist law enforcement in the development of a continuous proactive plan for gun crime reduction.
Public hearing on number 52 is today. Are there any proponents? Any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 53 is the Douglas County Board of Commissioners resolution approving their appointment to the Omaha City Planning Board. We need a motion to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Milton?
Yes.
Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurnett?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Pursuant to City Council Rule 70, due to no meeting being held December 23rd and 30th, the third reading and public hearing agenda item number 54 through 58 shall be held on January 6, 2015. Pursuant to City Council Rule 7C, the public hearing agenda items 59 through 62 shall be held on the second reading.
Motion to go into executive session.
For the purpose of discussing
Labor negotiations.
Second. Roll call.
Gray,
Yes.
Jerem, Milton, Pauls,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Gurnett, Mr. President.
Yes.
404. We are going to...
We'll now go into executive session where we will discuss only labor negotiations.
This was on item 7.
Yeah. We need 2 more people in here, preferably the council president. One more. Okay, they can talk. We just need 4 before we... You're not? We need a motion to come out of
executive session.
Thank you again. It's 5:12. Gray?
Yes.
Jerem? Milton is not here. Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson? Yes. Gurnetts? Mr. President?
Yes. We're now coming out of executive session where we
Burnett?
talked about labor negotiations.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Roll call.
Gray? Jerem? Milton is still absent. Pauls?
Yes.
Thompson? Gurnett?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
5:13.
Majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining.